A Hindu myth describes Lord Shiva and his bride Nanda Devi cavorting in the Himalayas. The goddess sneaks up playfully behind Shiva and covers his eyes with her hands. For a moment, the world disappears. For you see, Shiva's vision brings the universe into existence. In her play, Nanda had extinguished and reignited the universe. Less playful and more permanent was when she extinguished the incarnate lives of several hundred people in those same Himalayas. She's the goddess of giving, but this is a story of vengeance, set in modern-day Uttarakhand state in northern India. Uttarakhand is home to the tallest peak in India, which also bears her name, Nanda Devi. Once in every 12 years, devotees perform the Nanda Devi Raj Jat, one of the most arduous pilgrimages on earth. It lasts 20 days and covers nearly 150 miles on foot. It swells to 100,000 pilgrims as it moves through the villages of Uttarakhand and then thins out a bit as it ascends into the Himalayas. The pilgrims follow a sacred four-horned ram. They carry a palanquin with statuary and an adorned statue of the goddess to the place where it is said that she and Shiva were wed. One of the solemn highlights of the modern pilgrimage is at its apex, at 16,500 feet elevation. This area is known for violent and unpredictable weather. It's the starkest of locales, impossibly remote. There is a small glacial lake called Roopkund. Colloquially, it is known as Skeleton Lake. In 1942, an Indian forest guard was conducting a survey of the region, and he came upon this small valley. The lake was frozen, as it is most of the year, but through the ice he could clearly see skeletons, human skeletons. When Roopkund thawed, the British colonial government investigated, fearing that the Japanese army had attempted to sneak into India over the Himalayas. For only a few months before, the Japanese army had invaded nearby Burma. After their investigation, they determined that these remains were not fresh enough to warrant these fears. They weren't the Japanese soldiers that they feared. They did find the bones in the lake and many more around, but not only bones. In some cases, flesh, nails, and hair remained intact, preserved in the frozen ground. They found sandals, leather sandals, bangles and other jewelry, clothing, and small tools. If these were not recently Japanese soldiers, perhaps they were the fighters of General Zorawar Singh, the Little Napoleon of India. His men had died in these same mountains 100 years earlier and had never been found. But the absence of armor and weaponry around the lake dispelled the military theory. If these were civilians, how improbable that so many would be in this remote place. 35 kilometers from the nearest village and a dramatic uphill climb. If they were diseased and sent away from their communities, why would they come here? How could they come here? If they were healthy, did they come here to die? Were these mystics who came to perform a ritual mass suicide? It seems far-fetched. Violence is a more obvious explanation. They could have been led here and executed, though there are no signs of firearm wounds or blade wounds. How about a natural explanation? In 1986 in Cameroon, Lake Nyos burst hundreds of feet in the air as it released a massive cloud of carbon dioxide. Within minutes, the CO2 asphyxiated 1,700 people and thousands of livestock in the area. But so-called exploding lakes like this are charged by volcanic activity, saturating water with carbon dioxide, and the Himalayas are non-volcanic. More in line with the topography, the geology, and the climate of Roopkund is the idea that some combination of snowstorm, avalanche, or landslide contributed to these deaths. But it took over 60 years to come up with a definitive answer. In 2004, a team of German and Indian investigators launched an expedition to settle the matter once and for all, bringing the latest in forensic technology to bear. They collected skeletal remains and tissue samples to do DNA analysis, forensic examination, and radiocarbon dating. We learned a few things. One, these people all died around 850 AD, so it was one event, and it was a long time ago. Two, there were actually two distinct genetic populations, one closely related family or clan, and a group of shorter individuals who may have been locals hired as porters. Third, all of the individuals from both genetic groups exhibited signs of blunt force trauma, to the head and to the shoulders almost exclusively. The short, deep cracks in the skulls suggested that they had been stricken with something round, several inches in diameter. Now, all this scientific inquiry into the matter only served to confirm that this was not such a great mystery after all. It turned out that the people of the region had the answer all along. In particular, the elder women had this answer as part of their cultural heritage. You see, these women sing a traditional song about the goddess Nanda Devi. In the song, travelers, pilgrims, defile her mountain sanctuary, and her vengeance is that she rains down death upon them by flinging hailstones hard as iron. Yes, this is how hundreds of men, women, and children met their end at Roopkund. They were pilgrims, just as pilgrims travel to Roopkund today, they did in the 9th century, trekking in the Himalayas, in sandals apparently, and they had the misfortune to be caught in a shelterless valley in a freak hailstorm. Today, Roopkund is still a 3-day trek on foot, but the macabre allure makes it a popular destination for adventurers. The relics are disappearing, being taken as souvenirs, but the memories of these nameless pilgrims who perished here 1,200 years ago continues to capture our imaginations and lives on in song and in story.